My grandmother's hands always moved faster than her mouth did. Salt went over on the kitchen table, and before anybody could so much as gasp, there was already a pinch of it flying over her left shoulder. Somebody came in out of the rain and started to open an umbrella under her roof, and her hand was on it, closing it, steering it back out the door. She never lectured a soul. She just fixed it, the way you'd catch a glass before it hit the floor. And I grew up believing something on account of that. I grew up believing there was no such thing as bad luck you couldn't undo. Every spill had a cure. Every mistake had a remedy. And my grandmother knew every one of them by heart. So tonight, I'm not giving you a list of what brings bad luck. You know those already. I'm giving you the cures, the old remedies for when you've already done it. And I'll bet you a shiny penny you've broken 2 or 3 of these this very week without a second thought. Keep count, because I'm going to hand you the fix for every last one, exactly the way she handed them to me. But I'll tell you right now, there's one at the end. Number 12. The one day I watched my grandmother sit down at her own table, put her hands in her lap, and not reach for a single thing. Number 1. You spilled the salt. The oldest one there is, and the one nearly everybody still does without knowing why. You knock the shaker, salt goes across the table, and the cure is a pinch of it thrown over your left shoulder. Not the right, the left, every time. Because the story goes that the devil waits at your left side, just behind you, where you can't see him. Spilled salt was thought to be an open invitation to him. Salt being precious, holy, the thing that preserved and protected. And to waste it was to leave the door ajar. So you take a pinch of what's left and you throw it right into his eyes, and while he's blinking, you've gotten clean away. And there's a rule to the throwing. You don't turn around and look. My grandmother would throw that pinch and go straight back to what she was doing, like nothing had happened at all, because to fuss over it was to admit you were worried. Now, I'll tell you about my sister. That woman spent years rolling her eyes at me over exactly this. Foolishness, she called it, and she'd say so at my own table with the salt cellar right in front of her. And then last spring, I was standing in her kitchen while she was cooking, and she knocked that shaker clean over. And I watched her hand go. Quick, without a thought in it, a pinch up and over her left shoulder. And then she saw me watching her. She has never once admitted it. She changed the subject so fast she nearly gave herself whiplash. But I saw it. And she knows I saw it. Number 2. You walked under a ladder. You did it in a parking lot, and you felt that little twinge before your foot ever came down on the other side. The old belief holds that a ladder leaning against a wall makes a triangle, and a triangle was the shape of the Holy Trinity. So to walk through it was to break something sacred, and to break something sacred was to leave yourself uncovered. But there are cures, and they're simple. The first is to cross your fingers and keep them crossed until you see a dog. Any dog will do it. The second is better if you can manage it. You walk right back through the ladder, backwards, the same way you came, and you've undone your own steps. Some folks spit through the rungs, which will get you looked at in a parking lot, but nobody said the old ways were dignified. Number 3. You opened an umbrella in the house. Somebody in your family has hollered at you for this. You come in out of the weather and pop it open to dry, and there's a voice from the next room telling you not in here. The old belief says an umbrella opened indoors insults the spirits that guard your home and draws the misfortune it was built to keep off right down onto the roof over your head. The cure is quick, and the speed of it matters. Close it immediately. Carry it out of the house closed, and then open it outside, where it belongs. And that's how my grandmother did it, every time, without a word to whoever had done it. Down, out, open. Number 4. You turned back for something you forgot. This one catches everybody, because everybody forgets something. You're already out the door, halfway down the walk, and you remember your keys, or your phone, or the dish you were supposed to bring, and you go back in. The old folks believe turning back broke your journey, and a journey broken at the start is a journey that goes badly. But you don't have to just live with it. The cure is that you have to properly start over. Come inside and sit down. Actually sit, all the way down, count to 10. Then get up and go out again, fresh. Some folks look at themselves in a mirror before they leave the second time, and the boldest of them stick their tongue out at their own reflection, which is meant to break the spell entirely. The point of every version is the same. You don't sneak back out mid-journey. You end the trip and you begin a new one. That's the small stuff. The spills and the stumbles. Now we get into the ones the old folks stopped joking about. Number 5. A black cat crossed your path. The most famous piece of bad luck in this country, and hardly anybody knows there was ever anything you could do about it. But there were remedies, and there were plenty. The simplest is to turn around and go another way entirely. You refuse the path the cat cut in front of you. If you can't, you walk backwards past the exact spot where it crossed, undoing your steps. Some drew an X in the dirt with the toe of their shoe and spat on it. And my favourite of all, you turn your hat around backwards on your head and keep walking, because then you're no longer the person the cat crossed. You're somebody else entirely, going the other way. And I have to be honest with you, the way I always am. Last year, a black cat came off a stone wall and went across the road right in front of my car. And I did the old thing. I turned around, went back to the crossroads, and took the long way into town, feeling very pleased with my own good sense. And on that long way around, I ran over a nail I never saw and spent the next hour on the shoulder of a road nobody drives, wrestling with a jack in the heat. So there's your remedy, worked perfectly, and there's your luck, worked exactly the other way. Make of that what you will. I still turn the car around. I don't have a good reason for you. Number 6. Somebody gave you a knife as a gift. A good kitchen knife, a pocket knife, anything with an edge on it, was believed to cut the friendship between the two of you. The gift itself would sever the bond. And people still feel this one in their bones without knowing where it came from. The cure is one of the neatest things the old folks ever came up with. You give a coin back. A penny, a nickel, doesn't matter what it's worth. Because the moment money changes hands, it isn't a gift anymore. It's a purchase. You bought that knife. And a sale can't cut a thing. And I'll tell you what happened in my town when somebody wouldn't take the penny. 2 women, friends since they were girls, and one gave the other a beautiful set of knives for a new kitchen. The other went straight for her purse, the way she'd been raised to, and the giver waved her off. Wouldn't hear of it. Said she wasn't about to charge a friend for a gift. They fell out inside the year, over something so small neither one of them could tell you afterward what it had even been about, and they did not speak again for 11 years. 11. And when they finally made it up, at a funeral of all places, the first thing one said to the other was, "I should have taken your penny." Now, friends fall out every day of the week with no knife anywhere in it. But that's how the story got told where I come from, and both those women believed it to the end of their lives. There's a second knife rule while we're here, and this one lived in every kitchen. If 2 knives end up crossed on the table, you've made a quarrel. And the cure is particular. Whoever crossed them has to be the one to uncross them. Nobody else can fix it for you. You made it. You undo it. Number 7. You had a bad dream. You wake up with your heart going, holding onto something awful, and the first thing you want to do is tell somebody. Don't. Not yet. The old rule is that a dream told before breakfast comes true, so you hold it. You get through the morning, you eat something, and after that it's only a story. But if you can't hold it that long, there are older cures than waiting. You tell it to running water, a creek, a tap turned on, anything moving, and the water carries it away from you and downstream. You turn your pillow over so the dream can't find its way back into your head the next night. And there's a kind one I've always loved. If you wake from something dreadful, you say out loud, into the dark, that you'll have a good dream tomorrow instead. You speak over it. You give the night something better to hold on to. Number 8. A bird got into the house. This one puts a chill on people, and I understand why, because a bird indoors was one of the oldest warnings there is. But I've told you before that in my family, a bird at the window meant something else altogether, so you know I don't take the grim reading as the last word. Either way, the cure was firm on one thing above all others. You do not kill it. You don't trap it. You don't swat at it. What you do is open everything, every window, every door, and darken the room, and stand back, and let it find its own way out. Better still if it leaves by the same window it came in by, because then it's simply passed through and taken whatever it brought right back out with it. Now we come to the heavy ones, because everything so far you could fix with your own 2 hands in about a minute. These next ones the old folks worried over. Number 9. There were 13 at the table. You look around at supper and count, and there it is. 13. The old belief, and it's a hard one, was that the first to rise from a table of 13 would be the first to die. But there's a cure, and it's the most generous one on this whole list. You set another place, a 14th plate, and it doesn't need a person in it. The plate itself is enough to break the number. And if there's no dish to spare, then the rule is that nobody rises alone. 2 people stand up together at the same moment, and the danger has nobody to settle on. I find something lovely in that. The remedy for the unluckiest table in the world is to lay one more place and to make sure nobody gets up by themselves. Number 10. Somebody wished you harm. Not a spill, not a stumble. A person who meant it. Somebody who left your house with something ugly in their face or said a thing they can't take back. And this is where the old folks got practical, because this is what the whole kitchen arsenal was for. Salt across the threshold, so nothing ill can walk in over it. Iron by the door. Iron being the oldest protection there is. A broom laid across the doorway. And above the door, where it hung in my grandmother's house every day of her life, a horseshoe. Iron and luck at once, set with the ends pointing up, so it holds the good in like a cup instead of pouring it out on the floor. She never once explained that horseshoe to me. It was simply up there, the way the roof was up there. There's one over my door as well, and I'm not going to stand here and pretend I hung it for decoration. Number 11. You said something you shouldn't have. You said out loud how healthy you've been lately, how well the car's running, how smooth this year has gone. And the second it left your mouth, you felt it. That little lurch, the sense that you'd just been overheard by something. The cure you already know. You knock on wood 3 times and you do it right away. The story goes it comes from a time when people believed spirits lived inside trees, and you knocked either to wake them and ask their protection, or to make enough noise that whatever had been listening couldn't hear your boast. And I'll let you in on something. I have ended every single one of these with knock on wood on your way out, and I'll bet a good many of you thought that was just a saying I liked. It isn't. It's a remedy. I've been handing you the cure at the end of every story I've ever told you. Number 12. The trouble that has no remedy. I told you at the start that I grew up believing everything could be fixed. Here's the day that ended. I was a girl. It was a weekday morning, ordinary as bread, and the whistle down at the mine went off at a time of day when it had no business going off. And I want you to understand what that sound did to a coal town. Doors came open all down the row. Women went out into the road without their coats on and started walking the same direction, and nobody said one word. My grandmother had grown up with that whistle. Her own father went underground, and her brothers after him, in a coal country on the other side of the ocean. She knew what it meant before anybody in our town had to tell her. And I was watching her hands, because her hands always knew what to do. I waited for the salt. I waited for her to touch the horseshoe on her way past the door, the way she did a dozen times a day without noticing she was doing it. She didn't do any of it. My grandmother walked to her own kitchen table, and she pulled out a chair, and she sat down in it, and she folded her hands in her lap and looked at the wall. And she stayed like that a long, long time. There was no pinch of anything to throw, nothing to turn around, nothing to cross, nothing to buy back with a coin. She had a cure for every single thing that ever went wrong in that house except this one, and she just sat there with her empty hands and waited to find out. So let me ask you, and I mean it, which of these do you still do? The salt, the knocking, the coin for a knife. Even while you'd swear up and down, you don't believe a word of it? And has there ever been a night in your own life when you reached for whatever your family taught you to reach for, and there was nothing there to reach for at all? Tell me down in the comments. I read every last one, and these ones I sit with. Because here's where I've landed, and I'm not going to tidy it up for you. I don't know if any of this works. I've thrown salt over my shoulder my whole life, and I couldn't tell you if it's ever saved me from one single thing. I turned my car around for a cat and got a flat tire for my trouble. And 2 women in my town let a set of knives cost them 11 years, and I still can't tell you whether that was the knives or just the 2 of them. But I've thought about my grandmother at that table for 40 years now, and I think I finally understand what all of these really were. They weren't cures for bad luck. Bad luck doesn't take cures. They were cures for the feeling, for that terrible helpless minute after something goes wrong, when there's nothing on this earth you can do. The salt gives your hand a job. The coin gives you something to hand over. The knocking gives you 3 seconds of doing instead of dreading. Every one of these was a way to not just sit there. And that's why the sight of her sitting there has stayed with me my entire life. Because it was the day I learned there are things that come to a house that you cannot throw salt at. So, what's your count? How many of these had you already broken? And how many of the cures did you know before tonight? And tell me the one that was brand new to you. The cure you'd never heard of in your life until just now. I read every last one. Knock on wood on your way out.